This channel is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions.
Hi, this is Joe. I want to give you an update on the stock market, and I'm going to go through the market conditions again. I got positive feedback kind of across the board on that, and then I'm going to go through each of the individual time frames, trend, and momentum. So let's go ahead and get going. Actually, just to look at this, the trend and momentum hasn't changed, and that's pretty typical. We're not going to get a lot of shifts. Now, we're at a really critical point for the market this week and right now, and we're going to see how this plays out. I'm doing this as of Thursday's close for Friday morning, so we'll have to see how we finish off the week. I think Friday could be a pretty pivotal day. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention here is that we're really close, and I actually switched this to positive, but it shouldn't be. It should be neutral still. This line is flat. So we've got this ATR, the volatility on the daily chart was rising, and it's very close to turning down, which would make this a positive. So this really should say neutral. When I looked at this closer, I realized that it really hasn't turned down yet. So we look at the weekly. The weekly has also started to flatten out, but it is still rising, and the ATR on the weekly is still above its moving average. So that is still negative. We're still in a negative position on this, although it does look like it's flattened out somewhat. It wouldn't take very much to get that to roll down. So it's something we got to keep watching each week. In terms of the overbought, oversold, nothing's really changed. We made a little bit of a move, as I mentioned last week. We actually went up and hit the 18-week, and now we've come down a little bit. So we're still mid-range here. We're not oversold. We're not overbought, and from an overbought, oversold standpoint, at least from this 5 RSI oscillator. The sentiment didn't really change very much. There was a little bit of a mixture of what caused this low negative reading, but it really didn't change. So we're still in this position where people were really, really bearish at the low, just like they were here. But we've reached a very critical point. So let's go ahead and switch over to the individual trends. So we know that we're looking at a kind of a neutral pattern here on the monthly chart. And the longer this goes without giving up too much, the more we're going to get further oversold and get ourselves closer to support on a MACD basis. We still don't have any real strength in the sellers or the buyers on the monthly chart right now. So this is still considered a retracement of the bigger up move. It's not considered a true reversal yet. The bigger support is lower. That's the one thing that is a little troubling about this, and we are below a declining 18-month line. So those aren't small things, but we can't call this a full-fledged downtrend, and we can't really call the momentum at this point based on how far it's dropped. I wouldn't really consider it negative right now, especially because it's below this prior low, so that does constitute reverse divergence. Okay, so we're still operating off of this divergence pattern off the bottom. Now, I mean, in order for this to fail, we'd have to come back down and take out this low. And if that happens, then, you know, the divergence pattern fails. But I wouldn't want to wait for that. What I'm looking for now is, so we had this pattern here where we were down here and we knew we had room to rally. And that's really what was happening here. On a MACD basis, we worked our way back up to the zero line, and price has worked its way back up. Now we're coming back and testing the 18-day. So we're right around this zero line in MACD, and we have low ADX. Now the problem with low ADX here is we had a pretty decent move to the upside, but we couldn't get green DI to cross above 25. So that's why I've been saying we really have to stay open for the possibility of either direction, and we could be setting up the possibility of a reversal down. And today's close wasn't great. We ended up closing down 1%, over 1% after yesterday's big drop. So we're putting a lot of pressure on this short-term trend. I mean, is it possible we could survive this? I think we could, but it might end up channeling a little bit. I don't think it's just going to go vertical from this. But, you know, just keep something in mind. Like, I listened to Powell's comments. It's pretty clear he is trying to keep the market from going up. It seems like to me. At least that's my impression from what I listened to. he said everything he could to make the market to go down. So we have to keep that into account. I mean, we don't necessarily want to react to his comments. We want to react to how the market is acting based on news. And the market doesn't like what he's saying. And it seems like every time he speaks, we're going through another down leg. So we have to operate around here. We know we're at a zero line. We're at a really critical point in all these indicators. Is red going to take over again? If that's the case, if we make a lower high like that and this fails at the zero line, we have to assume we're going to go another leg, because we never got through the 18 here. We never really got this divergence going to the upside so far. Now, if this can hold its ground, maybe tomorrow, Friday morning, have a good morning and turn itself back to the upside or stabilize, then we have to start respecting this market a little bit more, because, again, you've got a Federal Reserve that's basically trying. I could be wrong, but it seems to me like they're trying to get this thing to stay down. They don't really want the market to go up. I'm not sure exactly if that's the case or not, but it just seems like it to me. So I have to accept that, and that's why I'm saying there's two possibilities here. We can be setting up for the downside, and we could just get a little minor bounce that gets this a little bit closer to the 18 on the hourly, and that might be it, you know? Or we get a better rally, a stronger rally, and that sets the stage for some kind of a consolidation before it heads higher. So that's kind of where I am with this right now. I don't see, there's not a significant amount of changes from last week. The big thing that happened this week is that we definitely had some form of failure at the 18-week line, and that keeps this trend down. Remember, the weekly trend is the driver. We look up and we look down, but this is the main trend we're focusing in on. This is the one that's kind of making it where you're going to make most of your decisions on. So the fact that this trend is still down with declining moving averages is disturbing, but it's also the reason why when we had so much bearishness and divergences at the low that I had to give this credit. And now we've rallied up. So now we have to see how we react on the daily chart. We're at a very, very critical point. Any further weakness here, then you're looking for a retracement as a point where we probably see lower prices from here. So something to keep an eye on. We'll just keep watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thanks.